Hey guys, Kev here, and I have another review to do for you. This is the Benchmade Re-Doubt. So, this was loaned into me by Blade Ops. I went over it in the last video, but I am now an affiliate with Blade Ops. Link is down in the description. If you want to pick this up or anything else up over there, feel free to use my link down below. It will help the channel. You don't have to do it. Sadly, you don't get a discount. I will continue to work on that. Anytime I have an affiliate link where you don't get a discount, I'm constantly asking them if they can add it. So don't worry. But Blade Ops basically told me the reason they don't is because a lot of the companies they work with don't allow it. Like Benchmade does not allow, ZT does not allow discounts on their products, so it wouldn't work. So, like, they would just have a bunch of items it doesn't work on. So, I get it. Anyway, that's the reasoning, and that's the spiel about Blade Ops. They are good people, as far as I've been able to tell. They were nice enough to loan me a few knives, and I appreciate it. So, check out the link down below if you don't mind. This is the Re-Doubt, and this is kind of their Benchmade's newest offering in the, I think it is black glass, but it's their newest It's their newest offering in the sort of lightweight series, like the Bug Out, right? That's why it's called the Re-Doubt. And then they have the Tagged Out coming in the Hunt series. So here you go. Re-Doubt every day, but it's the black label, which I think is like black class, which is like your tactical shit. But it's in that class with the Bug Out and the Bailout and the Tagged Out that's coming, because it's in this lightweight polymer material. I think it's just meant to be, you know, as lightweight as possible, but very usable and something you could chuck in a bag, not have to worry about, because it's going to be super durable. You don't have metal you're going to ding and scratch and rust and whatever, right? Ultra carryable with the deep carry clips and stuff like that. I think that's just the point of this series, and I gotta say, I do like it. It's not my favorite series of knives. I've just, you know, I've kind of grown past the plastic handled knife phase. But they are good to have around, so I don't know. So me personally, no, I would not buy this, but that doesn't mean it's not a good knife. I think this is actually a really good knife, and I think for the price, I think it's a great knife for the price. Now, you know, gone are the days of the Bug Out being, you know, when I got a Bug Out, it was $114, and it came in Blue Grivery and S30V for $114. Well, I haven't looked lately, but how much is a Bug Out now? I don't know. Probably $150, something like that, right? This is $162. It's got a lot more going on with the handle. It's not just a couple of slabs of Grivery and standoffs, right? They have a couple of slabs of Grivery that are really nicely milled in there, but they're still really sturdy. They really learned from that Bug Out fiasco, so to speak. Wasn't really a fiasco, but you know what I mean. And then they went ahead and added a piece of Grivery over top as like an integral onlay. Very interesting. I think it was smart, though. I think it's cool. It's screwed on here and here. It looks good. It's a little bit too textured for me, but I think that's why it's in the black class, so you can't lose your grip, and maybe so you could use it with gloves. It's got some ribbing here. It's really jimped up and everything, and I think it's meant to be used either with gloves or just, you know, you just are not going to lose this thing. You know what I mean? But I've seen a few reviews on this, and I honestly, it's nothing like I expected from those reviews. I thought it was going to be, I don't know, different. Once you get it in hand, it just feels different than it looks. I know that's dumb, but it's a little more rugged than you'd expect, I guess. A little more rigid, a little bit more rugged, so to speak. And yeah, it's plastic, so I guess you just never really get it till you get it in hand, and then you're like, oh yeah, it's hollowed plastic kind of, you know? But it's still sturdy as hell. Like, I don't know, it's weird. And then you have Cpm D2, which is not D2 that we all know from China. It's Cpm D2, which is the powdered form. I think it makes sense here. Normally, I'm not a big D2 guy. You guys know that. But this has got a Cerakote on it. and it's Cpm D2, so I think it's fine. And I think it's an American steel. I like that. So it's an American knife overall. And it's $162.50. And I think in this day and age, that price actually is pretty reasonable. Plus, it's a Benchmade, so you're going to get their warranty. And guys, they have the best warranty in the game. You have an issue, you hit them up, you send it in, they fix it. That sounds simple, but it normally doesn't happen that way. And they don't ask a ton of questions. You just send the knife in. It takes about a week, in my experience, and you get the knife back. And if you put in the notes, it's not centered, or like, I want this fixed. The action's kind of like, it's a little too stiff. I want it to be able to swing down but not have play. I've always got the knife back from them, and it's exactly what I asked for. Like, it's dead centered. It's dropping shut with no play. You know what I mean? Like, they do a good job. And then they'll sharpen it for you as well, even though they're kind of notoriously not great sharpeners. But it's sharp enough, So that's kind of an overview there. And then let's get into the review. Let me get a sip of my Spindrift here. All right. So this is the Re-Doubt. And I think aesthetically, it looks cool. It's kind of got vibes of the Ritter Hogue, or the Hogue Ritter RSK, whatever you want to call it. The Griptilian, those models. I have this one because it's from Knives Lab. Shout out to those guys who gifted this to me. But you can see there, it's basically identical in size. It's got a similar handle. It's obviously a little bit different, but drop point, pretty much the same. This is more of a spear point. That's more of a drop point. So it kind of like, if you think about it, in my mind anyway, if you took the grip and the Griptilian, the Ritter Hogue, and then you took a bug out and you went, whoosh, right? And you just smashed them together, this knife would come out. That's pretty much how I see it. So is that a bad thing? No, I think that's cool. Those are both Benchmade knives. I mean, the Griptilian is a Benchmade, and so is the bug out. So they could take their own designs and mesh them together. That seems fine to me. So I think the design looks cool. I love the onlay thing. Yes, okay, I don't love that it's plastic, guys. But for what it is, I think it's really nicely done. They did a good job with the plastic. I love the clip. One thing I worried about was this, where material could get caught under there. I did not have that issue, personally. You have a lanyard hole for those 7 people who want to put a lanyard on it. Shout out to Preston. And then you have these cool colored studs that match this back here, which I think is cool. Your on washers, and of course you have the Benchmade Axis Lock, which honestly works really well, guys. The reason I don't like the Axis Lock is because a lot of times they don't place the studs properly. So this knife has the thumb studs in a good place. So watch, when I flick it, it flicks out and it locks up. But a lot of times the studs are like out too far, or down too low, or up too high. And then when you flick, you just don't get enough power behind it to flick it out, right? But if you get a good, like the bug out, they have them placed perfectly. I handled the tagged out at Blade Show. Perfect, the way they line that hole up. So this is really good. It fires out really well. Another example of that would be on the Griptilian, or on the Hogue RSK. I don't love the placement. You see there, it's just too easy for me to kind of like fail it. The studs, in my opinion, needed to be like here, like in a little bit, or down here, just a little bit, so you get a better thumb pop on it. But because they're out here, I tend to flick it outward like that. Where on this knife, they have it close to the frame, under this little piece right here, and you tend to just go straight up and pop, and they fly out. So the Axis Lock works really well on this model. And then, so anyway, aesthetics, cool. Ergonomics, other than the ribbing, it's really comfortable. It's big, man. I mean, like big in the sense that it's kind of thick and chunky, and it would be a good work knife, I think. Be a good work knife. It's comfortable in most grips. If you want to get into some kind of reverse grip, there's nothing back here to hurt you or anything. If you're in a Friday night gas station fight and you need to go to some weird grip, you could do that and then get back to here. You can get into a pinch grip pretty easily. You know, do your kitchen stuff, or if you're cutting shipping labels or whatever. I think the Ergos are good. We have another, well, actually, in this case, they did not jimp the blade, which I think is okay. I wouldn't have minded some jimping right here, because this is one knife where when I'm in the back grip and I put my thumb down, my thumb actually lands where they would have put jimping, right here. But they didn't do it, right? So the last knife I reviewed was this ZT, and in this grip, I put my thumb down. Where is it? It's past the jimping. So it's like there's no reason to even have the jimping. But on this one, I would have landed right there. But anyway, they kind of give you this ribbed area right here when they do these axis locks. So that's kind of meant to be your jimping spot right there, which, again, is just not far enough up for me. You can kind of choke up on this as a choil, but I would be careful because the edge is right there, right? And then you can obviously get into pinch grips and stuff like that. It is a larger knife, so you have a lot of this bulbous area down here hitting you in the palm. So you just need to be careful with that. The cutting, I didn't do a lot of cutting with it. I think I cut 1 or 2 shipping labels, which was okay. Again, it has belly going up to the tip, and it's got this bulbous end. So for me, when I go to do labels, I'm up like this. I'm getting that meat into my wrist, and then I have to get up really high because of that belly to get to the tip. So for me, this is just not a good knife for my kind of tasks, which are very utility driven. But I think for your day-to-day stuff and regular EDC, I think this would be fantastic. And then as a work knife, I think it would be really good as well, because it's very comfortable and you have a good amount of straight edge, and then you have that belly up to the tip. I think it would work really well. It's a very just basic blade shape, which I think is what people loved about the bug out. So it's kind of the same concept here. Yeah, and it's not like thin behind the edge or anything, but it'll get the job done. And that D2 should hold an edge for a decent amount of time, and it's got this Cerakote, so it's not going to rust. And D2 is very tough, so I think it's a smart choice here, honestly. Especially powdered D2, right? But again, for cutting, you know, talk to somebody who cuts a house down with it or whatever, and take their opinion for it. I'm not the guy for that, right? Carry. I carried this in my front left pocket. I carried it today and some of last night. And honestly, I thought this ribbing was going to annoy the out of me. But it goes in and out of pocket like a dream. Had no issue at all. I would venture to guess it weighs about 4 ounces. It feels maybe a little lighter than that. You know, I mean, it's like, what did we measure the blade at? We didn't, did we? Let me just get this way. Get out to that tip. There. 3.5. A little more than 3.5 inches. So 3.6 inches of blade. And then 4.5. 4 3/4. And if you count the end with the this, it's a little more than 4 3/4. With that clip sticking off the end. So, you know, it's a pretty big knife. You know, you're close to what? What are we talking? 8.5 inches overall. What did I say? So right here is 4. And then right there is 4. Yeah, around 8.5 inches, 8 1/4 overall, something like that. So it's a pretty big knife, right? But it carries really well, and I think for being probably sub 4 ounces, I would guess it's 3.5 to 3.75 ounces. That's a good weight for a knife this size, which is why they use the Greibery, because it's really strong yet it's lightweight, right? So that's carry. Yeah, again, no issue here with the material getting caught. And it is reversible. I reversed it in the unboxing. You can see it's a Chicago screw. Comes right out. Flips around, no problem. It was a T6, I believe. Yeah, T6s on all of that stuff. And then it's going to be probably a T10 on your pivot, if I remember Benchmade right. Yeah, I think that's it for carry. I mean, it felt great in my left pocket, to be honest. I didn't have, you know, reaching past it or anything. I didn't feel this at all, honestly. So I think it's good. Sounds. Yeah, it's a Grivery knife. It's just not going to sound great. I would give it a 3 or 4 out of 10. I mean, it does have a good quack out, but that's about where it ends. So 3 or 4 out of 10, which is, you know, whatever that means to you, right? Action / fidget factor. All right, so I'm not a big axis lock guy, and it's because they don't have a D10. It's just how it is for me, guys. I like D10s. You know, I like when a knife breaks a D10 and then flies out and locks up. That gives me a satisfaction. It's the fidget factor. And as much as people love Benchmades they say they're fidgety because you can use the lock to swing it out and close it, and you can do this and, you know, all that stuff, sure. But for me, fidgeting is about getting satisfying clicks and clacks and feedback in your hand and such. And axis locks just don't do that for me. And there's always a lot of wrist involved, right? You always want to wrist it out when you flick it and wrist it shut when you close it. And I don't know, I just don't get anything out of that. But if you are into the axis lock, I think this is one of the good examples because, again, you have that good location of studs, flies out really well. You don't need to use wrist, right? It comes out really well. You can get under it and reverse flick it really well. Same thing, feels good. And then on the close, pull them down, basically swing shut. I mean, you don't have to do much. Came out of the box like that. And I've seen a few reviews on this, and they all seem to do that. And it's pretty much rock solid. I mean, there's the slightest bit of wiggle in each direction, but for an axis lock, it feels really good. Most of them feel looser than this, and it's doing that, right? So it's really good on the washers. I think they did a good job. They seem to use oversized washers on this, is what I can tell. Looks like oversized washers, which is good. At least oversized compared to like the bug out and other ones I've had. So the fidget factor is there. It's just not my type of fidget factor, right? So you can do this all day, flicking and doing whatever. You can do the 2-bar pull, or you can do the single bar pull, whatever you want to do. One thing I've heard is if you do a lot of the single bar pull, you're more likely to break your springs. I don't know. I've broken bug out springs one time. That's it. But I also don't have and haven't had a ton of axis lock knives because I got into them early on and then I grew out of it pretty fast. And now I really don't carry or buy anything with axis locks. So, you know, it is what it is. But I think the action's good on this. The centering is off. The tip is pretty close, right? You can see it's a little bit off to this side. And then if you look at the blade, the rest of it, it's definitely off to this side over here. So, not the end of the world. Again, it's a Benchmade, and that's just kind of what you get with them, you know? The nature of them being so ambidextrous is kind of its downfall for me. That's what people always say, that these are the best type of knives for lefties. And it's like, I don't agree with that. Yeah, they are ambidextrous, so you can use them left-handed, but that doesn't mean they're the best knives for lefties. Like, you know what I mean? It's just, a good option for lefties because it's hard to find options. And I appreciate Benchmade for including lefties. So anyway, overall, this knife is really good. And I think for $162, I think it's a good deal. American-made knife with good steel. And it's going to do the job. It's just a matter of if it's for you. That's all. You know, it's not for me personally. But that's fine. There's other knives like the ZT-0470 that are. This knife is definitely for me. So check out Blade Ops. Link is down below if you want to check out either of these knives. If you pick one up using that link, it helps the channel, but you don't have to do that. Feel free to go over there on your own or check out other stores, whatever you guys want to do. I'm just here to give you information. You do with it what you will, but I truly love you guys. I appreciate Blade Ops for loaning me these knives. It was absolutely kind of them for doing that, and I hope you guys have an absolutely fantastic day, and I will catch you later.